Didn't have voice meters started. All right. What's going on, guys? Heard there was a basketball game tonight. Anyone hear about that? So, Bulls versus Kings. I'm trying to pull up the chat. I don't know where to view the Twitter chat, so we're just gonna power through. But what is going on, guys? Bulls versus Kings, big dub. Bulls 126, Kings 113. A huge game for the entire team, honestly, top to bottom. Everybody was getting involved. It was a homecoming game, having Zach Lavine and DeMar DeRozan back in Chicago, but we were able to hold them off. Zach had a really, really hot kind of second quarter, and it looked like he was about to start going off. DeRozan in the first quarter was looking pretty good, but they both kind of trailed off in that third quarter. And I mean, kind of the classic story, right, guys? Like we saw that back in the day where Lavine and DeRozan would cool off in that third quarter, and the Bulls weren't able to overcome those kind of games. This was the blueprint for the new look Bulls. Tonight, we got to see what the vision is, what AK and Mark Eversley envision for this team to get back to relevancy, to get back to the playoffs. This is what they want. I mean, they want to have Matas scoring, 30 points, 27 tonight. But being up there as our top scorer, they want to see the energy coming from the bench, taking the energy from the starters, and not missing a beat when the bench comes onto the floor. They have a Koro who is coming in as kind of the number one defender for that starting lineup, but then you're also bringing in Dosunmu and Williams off of the bench. Even Jalen Smith had a decent game tonight too. So we're doing all of this, mind you, without Kobe White, without Zach Collins, who I think will make this team even better. And it's very encouraging. That's the word I keep using, encouraging, mainly because they still haven't played like one of the top teams yet. And I think that will be the barometer for us to figure out how good the Bulls really are would be to play against the New York Knicks on Friday. Oh, would you look at that? Halloween night at the United Center, NBA Cup tournament, and it's going to be Bulls versus Knicks. So this game coming up on Friday is going to be pivotal. Bulls have struggled in NBA Cup games just since it's existed for 2 seasons now. So we haven't even seen the Bulls be competitive in that kind of game, regardless of who the opponent was. It was Magic, Cavaliers, played a bunch of different teams, and we were always struggling in those games. So playing against one of the top teams in the East, playing in an actual game that has stakes. If you listen, I know some people don't care about the NBA Cup, but technically does have stakes, a game that is consequential in some way. This will tell us more, I think, than the first 4 games. But the first 4 games have been a lot of fun, and I think we've seen the vision. I said it. We've seen the blueprint. This is what AK and Mark were telling us, and we have given them a ton of heat and a ton of flack, deserved flack at times, right? But now, where we're at as a team, 4-0 to start the season, got to give them some credit. Continuity, I know, it pisses everyone off. It's an annoying word. I'm sick of hearing it. But this is what happens when you build a team from the ground up. You have team chemistry. You have a bunch of guys who have been through the mud together last season. And before that, going back even further for some of these guys. But a team that has been through the mud together and is playing for each other. We've heard everybody eats. Everybody is eating, and they want to share the food. Everybody wants everybody else to eat, and that is a beautiful thing. They are playing some fun team basketball. They're passing the ball well. Vooch had another double-double, 13 and 14, and 7 assists. So I predicted Vooch would have a pivotal role in tonight's game, and he sure did. He was making some clutch plays down the stretch, but same with Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey hitting clutch threes. And there was a question in the chat, why do you think Billy doesn't like to close games with Giddey? So I think that in late game situations when teams are starting to make a run, I think there is a justification to bring in extra defense, especially if you have Ayo Dosunmu coming off of the bench. You can pair him with Trey Jones like we saw, and they can shut down a backcourt. So I think the idea was to keep up with the speed of Lavine in particular, and they did that. They were able to counter. Lavine did have a bit of a burst there at the end of the fourth, and it seemed like the Bulls were in position there to kind of shut that down. But Josh Giddey, that's not to take credit away from Giddey. Obviously, he has flaws defensively, but he is still a smart player who has been playing, a very cerebral kind of feels type of game lately. He's not always the best defender, right? But he does read passing lanes well, and he does time his blocks well. So those are positives that I think can be. We hear the term hiding on defense sometimes. You can use Giddey in creative ways, and there are ways to make him work in this lineup, especially coming off, looking at Isaac Okoro, looking at Matas Buzelis, looking at how hard those guys are playing defensively. You can make up for some of the deficiencies that Giddey has, but late game scenarios, you do want to go for, strength and speed are going to be top of mind. And rotation predictions. This is from Cubbies 4449. Rotation predictions once Kobe and Zach return. Yeah, so I think Kobe is going to slot into the starting lineup over Trey Jones, but everything else should probably stay the same. I think Okoro is going to hold down that starting spot just because his defense has been so important. Has not really found his footing as a scorer quite yet. He had a nice game against the Hawks, had a decent game here tonight offensively against the Kings, but defense is still the priority for him, and we saw it tonight. I will say, for as well as Zach LaVine played, it did feel like there were times that DeRozan was, shooting them out of the game a little bit or slowing the offense down a little bit. We haven't heard that before. Russ was chucking threes at time. I feel for Kings fans. I really do. Because we've been there, man. Like we've been there. And we've had to deal with the highlight reels that don't, I said this on Twitter. We had to deal with the highlight reels that, don't result in wins. We had to deal with the, all of the discussions from the media about how they don't fit together. And then the Kings go on, like, not only did they double down on a team that the Bulls already established did not work, but then they bring in Westbrook and and I see Kings fans out there and, like, to their credit, like, I'm not trying to shit on anyone. I see Kings fans out there in the comments, like, fighting for their guys. And I get it, man. We were them. We were you. We were doing that. We were fighting for Zach. We were fighting for DeMar, defending their honor. And I feel for them because, we know what happened. We got hurt. I love Zach. I love DeMar. I'm always going to have love for them. But, it ended poorly. Things did not end the way we wanted them to. And it was a tough pill to swallow at the time. And looking back, it's always going to feel a little off. It's always going to feel a little bad thinking about how things ended. And I feel so much for Kings fans because they're at the beginning of that journey right now. I really hope that if they continue down this path, the Kings are able to recognize it and change course sooner than maybe the Bulls did. But, with that said, good win tonight. I do think the Kings played pretty well overall. I pointed out another thing on Twitter about how the makeup of these teams, like there is kind of a bit of a parallel in, like, the style that they run, trying to attack the basket, run in transition. Even the Kings have been playing some better defense so far this season. And then you have the bench. So the guys coming off of the bench provide that spark. So you get an offensive spark, but you also get a defensive spark from some of those guys like Malik Monk, Ellis, Carter. So I see some of the vision, like, for some of these young players that the Kings have. I just think that, well, not Malik Monk, but I just think that, they're going to have to, how old is Monk? 27. He's still pretty young. I think they're going to have a pretty frank, like, look in the mirror at some point, come to Jesus moment like we had to. Cubbies again, Zach and DeMar are just not winning players. Yeah, they have exceptional talent. They don't make their teammates better. So what is the word that we like to use in sports for those kind of things that you can't really explain, but, like, inherently in your gut? It's intangibles. And I think that's the kind of stuff that you lose with Zach and DeMar. It's like, obviously they are very talented scorers. And I think DeMar, like, they represent two different eras, I think, of NBA basketball, right? DeMar comes from more of a late 90s, early 2000s, grinded out kind of offensive player. Whereas Zach, more of, like, the 2010s kind of, 3-point athleticism kind of player. So two distinct different eras trying to play together. We saw the challenges that go along with that. But, I also think that there was a different mindset for a long time of, like, you could win with players like a Carmelo Anthony who, is a pure scorer and isn't going to give you a ton of effort on defense. There were tons of players like that in the late 2000s through 2010s. And I think Zach is kind of that mold, of a guy who can shoot the lights off of the backboard, but, like, what is he bringing to the table from, a leadership perspective, setting the example for, diving for loose balls, being in the right place at the right time, buying into coaching. I don't want to, again, not shitting on anyone, not trying to talk down on anyone, but there were definitely times where it felt like Zach and Billy Donovan weren't on the same page. We saw that play out in the media too. And, now with Billy kind of having more control over the system that they're running, rather than trying to fit the system to the players that, the limitations of the players, right? It seems like Billy is able to implement the philosophy and the system that he wants. And we're seeing the benefit of that. We're seeing how players are responding. And it seems like the Bulls right now are buying in to the philosophy that this coaching staff is giving them. And again, shout out to the front office, because they have taken a lot of heat from us, deserved heat, but this is a little different. This is something a little different. So definitely they deserve a little bit of credit for that. And, obviously we're going to see where the season goes. We're going to see how things develop over the course of an 82 game season. But I mean, like, so far so good, right? Like, I don't have any complaints so far. And yeah, like it feels different. And I think one of the reasons that it feels different to me is because of what I pointed out with the, kind of ball dominant star players that we were revolving, the offense around for a long time. Now we're taking a look at, like, any of these guys could go off on any given night, right? Like Matas went off tonight, but Ayo went off the previous time, and the time before that, it's Vooch going off. Like, they have a bunch of different guys, and I think bringing it back around, Vooch, I have been one of the biggest proponents of trying to trade Vooch, and I have found myself now at a moment where, like, I'm questioning maybe keeping him is kind of the move right now. He is the veteran on this team, kind of the vet leader in a lot of ways. And I want to point out another thing, actually. I feel like this is the vision they had for Vooch when they originally traded for him all the way back in 2021. But yes, Vooch is kind of playing as the offensive hub. They're running the pick and roll through him. He's, to his credit, putting in a lot of effort to run the floor and keep up with this fast-paced offense. And it's generating open looks for him from three. And I think you also see a bit of a rejuvenated energy from Vooch, playing with a team that is it's kind of more fun. Like, the vibes are pretty high right now. And it's not that the vibes were bad before, but it seems like I said, everyone's eating, everyone's sharing, and everyone wants everyone else to be great. And I think that level of team chemistry is something we have missed, that level of team camaraderie. And I think it's beautiful. I mean, that's how you get guys on the same page, is to quite literally, get on the same page. So I question whether trading Vooch would be the move, because if they traded Vooch now, their offense would get way worse, right? Maybe their defense would get a little better, but their defense is already one of the best in the league so far this year. So I don't know if, like, their offense is the thing that should be the priority of getting a little bit better based on, early season numbers. But man, great game though. Like, great game all around. Let's look at some numbers. So Kings shot 25% from three. Bulls have been one of the best perimeter defending teams in the NBA this season. Actually, as of before tonight's games, the Bulls were the best 3-point defending team in the NBA. So we'll check back with that tomorrow after all the games have been played tonight, and see where we're at with that. But really encouraging for, again, a team that has struggled with that defensive identity, especially on the perimeter, especially, points in the paint. Like that, I think we won points in the paint tonight, if I recall correctly. Let's see. Yeah, points in the paint, 70 to 60. Like, these are things that we have struggled with so much in the past. And it feels like a new day. It feels like a brand new day. Bulls shot almost 44% from 3-point. That's great. 54% from the field. That's great. 46 rebounds, 12 of them offensive. We actually have some of those. we can actually watch some of those. Let's get to the, what is it? The play stream? Yeah, play stream. All right, here we go. Let's find a play here. There's some offensive boards in here. I know that, I know Jalen Smith had some. Giddey had some. Now I got to find it. Jalen Smith offensive boards. So putting in that effort, I mean, he's got the mismatch here against Carter, uses his body, gets the board, gets another board. So, I mean, that's the energy. That's the intangibles that we were talking about earlier. But, you know, like, Giddey is your point guard, and he's fighting for rebounds, right? Like, Matas Buzelis is your becoming, right, your star player, and he's tall as shit, and he can grab rebounds. You've got size and length and speed up and down this roster, which is it's a pretty cool thing. Here's the Giddey offensive boards. So we'll see here. He's taking on Sabonis one-on-one. Goes for the three. Blows right by him. Sabonis didn't even try. And yeah, just batting. Like, you got Vooch getting in here, putting a body up. I mean, that's just great. That's just great. So good stuff from your starting lineup tonight. Also good stuff coming off of the bench. Hey, should we talk about Patrick Williams again? I can't get back to the box score. Patrick Williams didn't hit double-digit scoring tonight. Kevin Huerter has hit double-digit scoring in all of his games so far this season. Patrick Williams was 3 for 3 from 3 tonight. Okay? So I have given Pat some criticism, but if he's hitting threes, like, there's nothing to complain about, because he's already a good defensive player. He's already one of the best defensive players on this team. If he's hitting those threes confidently, he had a pull-up tonight too. Where's pull-up Pat? Let me find pull-up Pat, because that was good. Second quarter, I think. Was it third quarter? Third quarter, pull-up Pat. Confidence, bro. You love to see confidence. Stepping right into that shot, in rhythm, over his former teammate, Zach Lavine. Good stuff for P. Will. Happy for him. Good start to his season. And yeah, you know, here, another thing that we have sometimes struggled with is finding this mismatch. So here's another thing you're going to see is, like, Kevin Huerter is another guy that is so selfless with the ball, so happy to pass the ball, but he can also shoot that thing. So he can also put in energy and put in effort defensively. Scrappy players who want to see their teammates succeed. You know, Herter's not looking for his shot here. He wants to give Vooch that shot. He knows Vooch can make that shot. He's got a little guy on him. He's got the smallest guy on the court. It's that level of awareness. It's that level of selflessness. This is winning basketball. This is winning basketball here. Yeah, Kevin Huerter, 18 points, 4 assists, and 4 rebounds. I mean, that's pretty impressive for a guy who was supposedly just a throw-in in the Lavine trade against his former team. Probably like the most the least talked about storyline of the evening, being Huerter playing against his former team and having a really nice game against them. So again, you know, all in all, like, I'm really happy with you know, what we're seeing right now. Look at Vooch. Look at Voochie, man. Vooch is in his prime right now. Look at that. Is that a guy who's at the end of his career? Nah, man. Vucevic is in his prime. Fresh legs. We love to see it. Still no sign of Asenge getting minutes. Still no sign of Javon Carter, which is okay. I don't think anyone's going to be upset by that. I know that a lot of people wanted Asenge to play, but you're winning games. I think we can live with it. So what else was there from tonight? Trying to think what else I wanted to get to. We went over the numbers, field goal percentage, turnovers. Yeah, the Bulls were a little sloppy with the ball. did concede some points off of turnovers. And that was that was one of the things that, looking at the parallels between these teams, it's like the Kings try to generate those turnovers and, convert those into points in transition in the fast break. They actually had more fast break points than we did tonight. It's like usually that's our game. And the parallels there, it's a little strange that the Kings seem to be like so. It scared me, bro. I haven't heard that noise in forever. Holy shit, that scared the shit out of me. Thank you for the follow, whoever that was. Who was that? Let's see. I don't know. Trippy Dude? No, Trippy Dude already followed me a while back. Anyway, good stuff from the bench. Good stuff in terms of passing the ball, even with those turnovers, right? Moving the ball around. Because that was something that we saw the Hawks do, was try to slow our offense down and kind of get us into the half court. And when that happens, you need to still be moving. Even if you're in the half court, like, you need to have guys constantly moving around, cutting to the basket. And we saw a lot of cutting to the basket. I think there was one. I know Giddey had one. Modest had a couple of good ones. Modest is always going to have these good cuts to the basket. But here's the chemistry on display. It's like your point guard and your star forward, your young star forward in Modest Buzelis, like, really getting on the same page and really playing off of each other. And I mean, that's the vision. That right there is the vision. So if you're gonna get slowed down into the half court, if you're gonna be forced to play a half court kind of game, then yeah, you got to be cutting to the basket. You've got to be moving without the ball. And if you got the big man, if you got Jalen Smith or Vooch, if you got them running down, roll into the basket, feed them the rock. So I think the Bulls are capable of scoring in a lot of different ways. They have struggled with the three at times. It's been interesting. It seems like they've kind of gone back and forth. Like, Buzelis started this season not shooting the ball well from three, but tonight he was lighting it up. And there have been games where, the first half they weren't able to drain a three. Second half, they were able to drain a bunch. I think that speaks to the versatility of the offense, that they're able to score in a variety of ways, that they're not being held to one specific philosophy or style. And I also think we saw Matas doing some self-creation. We saw him playing some defense, playing against DeRozan here. Let's see. Shooting over him, draining the three. This one's a miss, but we're going to see the confidence. Buzelis going right at DeMar. Went right at him. I mean, it was very close to going in. Left hand Boozy. So here's the motion. Here's the moving in the half court. And the body adjustment midair. Going around a big. Going around Sabonis, who, he isn't a defensive big necessarily, but he's still a big guy. Modest switches hands. This one's beautiful. I mean, this is gorgeous, right? Like, creating the shot for himself, and then just a gorgeous move. Like, that's a Michael Jordan move. He just did a Jordan thing. He literally just did the thing. He did the fucking thing, man. They did the thing. Look at that. Long arms, length, speed. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I mean, that's some crazy stuff right there. Trey Jones, we got some good minutes from Trey Jones once again. He's been solid filling in for Kobe White while he's nursing that calf injury. And trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to cover. Io taking DeRozan on one-on-one, I thought was a cool moment. DeRozan was one of his veteran leaders. And here he is taking him on in isolation and forcing a tough shot. That's pretty dope. I mean, this is development, bro. Like when we talk about player development, we want to see players develop. This is development. Buzelis handling the ball more. Io becoming a more confident scorer, being able to hit threes from the corner, being an off-ball shooter, in addition to already being good with the ball in his hands. Io plays with so much energy and intensity. He's using decel moves. He's using the deceleration. He's drawing the fouls, converting the N1s. So players are developing. And the team, I know, continuity. The team has found some, let's use the word consistency. I like the word consistency a little bit better than continuity, right? Because what we're looking for here is, like, we don't need them to stay the same, but we need them to be consistent. We need them to perform at a consistent level. And 4 games, I mean, it's a small sample size, but it's not a fluke. It's not a one-off fluke. That is 4 wins over teams that all will be competing for the playoffs/play-in. Now, the Kings probably going to be the worst of the 4 teams that we've faced so far, just in my humble opinion. But with that said, they were in the mix. They were in the play-in tournament last year. So if that's our floor, then what is the ceiling? I think play-in tournament as a floor is not a bad floor. I know we're sick of it. I know we don't want to see, Bulls versus Heat in the play-in tournament again. I would love to be a playoff team. Or, conversely, I would love to be tanking and getting a superstar in the draft. But, clearly that hasn't really worked that well. Like, we've been bad, and it hasn't helped us in any measurable way. There are teams that have been very bad and still have not been able to luck out on a superstar in the draft. So with what we have, I like what they're doing. Now, things can change quickly. I don't want to throw cold water on anything. But, the Kings, not a great team. The Hawks, an inconsistent team. The Magic, an inconsistent team. The Pistons, a young team. Magic, young too. So just some things to keep in mind. I think Friday against the Knicks is going to be a really good challenge. And, if we go 5-0, like, nobody's telling me shit, bro. Like, you can't, I'm done with the doubt. I think that if the Bulls go 5-0, beat the Knicks at home in the NBA Cup tournament, like, I think the doubt is gone. It's a good team. But really positive early season signs up and down the roster. You're getting good contributions. You're not getting just good contributions. You're getting starter level contributions from guys off of your bench, from Ayo Dosunmu, from Kevin Huerter. Patrick Williams at times has looked that way. And Trey Jones is technically the starter now, but he also is technically a bench player. So just all positive signs. You bring back Zach Collins, you bring back Kobe White. Zach Collins is going to make your defense even better. Kobe White is going to make your offense even better. And what more are you going to ask for? Good stuff, guys. Before I get out of here, we had one more comment from Cubbies. New NBA meta is depth, high pace, spread it around, hope to have 1 star. And I think it's going to keep that. It's going to keep going that way because of the second tax apron. Because the NBA has implemented these kind of safeguards to prevent, the super team construction of having like 3 superstars, 4 superstars on the same roster. You know, you can make a case that the NBA salary cap situation is still pretty dumb. I've written about that before. I think there's an article on my Patreon about that. Like, I've discussed that at length in the past, but with the, you know, with the understanding of kind of where things are headed, where the NBA is now, and, you know, forecasting the salary cap rising, but teams not necessarily being able to dip into that second apron, or being unwilling to dip into that second apron, and getting hard capped, right? Because that's what that apron does, is it hard caps your team. You know, that removes like all of the wiggle room that we've seen like the Lakers do when they want to add a veteran player. We've seen, you know, whatever team like Kevin Durant is playing for, we've seen them do it, the Warriors. So those kind of moves are going to be kind of taken out of the picture a little bit. And yeah, you're going to be expected to win on those margins even more than ever before. Those second round picks are going to be even more valuable, I think. And you're going to be looking at teams that are built around depth, as we kind of fade out of the like superstar era. I think like Jokic is kind of one of the, I don't want to say he's going to be the last of the, you know, like superstars, because like there are plenty of young stars coming into the league, and like I think, you know, a guy like Shea is still ascending and could still get even better. But you know, the Thunder are like a super team in the way of that everyone on their team is good. Like they're a super team because they have drafted well, because they have made those moves on the margins. And that's what teams need to do. And, you know, to the Bulls' credit, like they drafted Modest. They took the guy that was there at that pick. They didn't overthink it. They didn't trade out of the pick. They took Modest there, and he is working out expertly. Io was a second-round pick. I think Julian Phillips has been a little bit underwhelming, but there have been some positive moments for him. Same with Dalen Terry. Underwhelming, but there have been some moments. Pat, we know Pat is not going to ever be, you know, the kind of player that maybe we hyped up before that 2020 draft. You know, when we had all these thoughts in our head about what he could be, Pat is growing into what he is, finally, I think. And that's okay. You know, we're far enough removed now from that to kind of move on from that and, you know, let him be the player that he is. And I think the early season results are good. I've been streaming for over 30 minutes. I told myself I'd only do half an hour. Guys, Bulls are 4-0. Bulls are going streaking. Bulls are undefeated to start the season. Actually, before we get out of here, let's pull up NBA.com. Let's look at season leaders. Steals per game, Trey Jones, still right there. Tied for first for steals per game. 3-point percentage, Trey Jones is fifth. Okay. I think those are the only Bulls I'm seeing here. It's one Bull. Yeah. Daily dunk score leaders. Zach. Understandable. But no, let's look at standings. Where are standings? Teams. Standings. Hey, stop the count. Stop the count. We are number 1, baby. Let's fucking go. Can I see like the whole league though? No. All right. Let's get a little screenshot of this. Here, I'll do a little tweet with you guys while we're up on the stream. Copy to clipboard. And see what my Twitter workflow looks like. Bulls are back. Tell a friend. Maybe just something simple. Isn't it beautiful? First time starting a season off this well since the Zach and DeMar era. And yeah, you know, it's fitting, I feel like, that we played them at this juncture at home, because really illustrates the change, the difference in where we were and where we're going now. I think playing against the Kings like really illustrated, you know, kind of the old guard of flash without substance versus the new guard of scrappiness and hustle and energy. It's good stuff, guys. I fucking love it. We've got spam bots in the chat, which means it is time to go. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. If you're watching the replay on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. Most of the people who watch my videos are not actually subscribed to my channel, so I really appreciate it. If you guys just hit that subscribe button, it helps me a ton. And if you help me, I can make more of these videos, and we can all enjoy the Bulls together. Knock on wood. Let's keep enjoying it. Let's keep the win streak going. You guys know I'll be back to do a preview ahead of the Knicks game on Friday night. But for now, enjoy the win, guys, and I'll talk to you very soon.